everyone, this is Tina with Cafe Crop, and I am going to give you just a fun little demo of how to make a cupcake card. And these are featuring these cute little cupcake punches that we will be having available in the mini sale that is going on starting on Wednesday evening and then throughout the week. So we are going to get started. These are just a few samples here, and then I'll show you a few fun other ideas of things that you can do with them. But we are going to make cards similar to this. So we're going to just start with our card base that we're going to use, and then I am using some paper, just some fun paper that I had from Echo Park, but you can pick any kind of fun designs, prints that you like that would go together. I used 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess 5 different designs. So it just depends on what you have. You can repeat designs. But we're going to just go through here and get all of our pieces ready so that we can then assemble the cards. So first of all, I cut a A2 card size. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I did my background. So I'm going to be doing this card because this is paper from Photo Play, but it has been long gone. I hoarded it. It was one of my favorites, the Mad for Plaid Happy. So I didn't have enough of that still available, but this is just some scraps and things that I had. So it's easy to pull out scraps. And then you'll want some coordinating solids just to go with whatever colors are in your card. So we've got our card base. I'm going to put that aside here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a strip for along the bottom here. Now typically I would cut about a 1/2 inch strip, but because this has a design on it, I'm actually just going to go with a strip of the circles that are on this design, and that'll just make it easy. I don't even have to think about measuring. So if you don't like to measure, use paper with the design. And then I'm going to cut it to 5 1/2 so that it goes right along the bottom of my card base. Let me get this, put things out of the way here so that we don't have a lot of obstruction. And then I'm going to do some borders. So first border I'm going to do is along the top of the card here. Now I'm going to use some Kiwi Lane templates because I have those handy and they're quick, they're easy to use. And this is called Sentiments 2A. There's sets of templates available. If you don't have a template or didn't have something like that handy, you could certainly take any border punch you have and use a border punch. So for example, if you like scallop borders, you could easily do a scallop border and do a scallop along the top or whatever border you have handy. You don't have to have any particular one. The Kiwi templates I'm using are from what's called the Card Sampler Set, and it's a great value if you've never experienced Kiwi Lane templates before. You get 15 different templates and it's only $10, so it's a mix from all different sets. There are quite a few of the sellers that actually sell Kiwi Lane products, so you can check with your local retailer, whoever you typically shop with at your local store, and see if they have them. It won't be something that's out on the shelf because it's not a product that we can stick out on the shelf to have hanging there for everyone to just see. So it's going to be something that you would have to ask about if you don't already have a relationship with someone who does sell the Kiwi Lane products. So definitely check that out. We're going to use a couple other templates from there, but I will give you options of things that you can actually do to, if you don't have that as an option, or you don't have the templates as an option. So I am just going to Okay, get the volume correct here. I'm actually just going to quickly edge all of the edges with, I'm just using Vintage Photo. You don't have to, I just like the way it looks when there's a little bit of ink on the edges. So I just keep my tiny version of my Vintage Photo here, and so I can edge things as they go along. Alright, so next, move that back so we don't actually accidentally stick any paper in it. Next, we're going to work on our big cupcake, and then we'll cut all our little cupcakes. So for this, you need, and it's easy enough to do with or without the templates, but you would need a hexagon shape, and you need like a cloud shape to make your fluffy top of your cupcake. So if you're good at just hand cutting out a cloud, you could easily do that. So, and I am doing these in pencil. If you have friction pens, those are erasable as well, and you might be able to see the lines a little bit better. I just have my pencil handy. So we're going to just trim those out. So this one's pretty easy because it's just nice straight lines. I'm going to cut the cloud out as just a larger piece so that it's easier to handle and you're not seeing a giant piece of paper roaming around. So it's not something you have to be very precise in your cutting because it is icing on the top of a cupcake. So if you miss a line a little bit or it's not perfectly round or straight, that's okay. Because again, it's icing, and icing goes on all different ways. If you've ever iced an actual cupcake or cake, you know it's not going to all look exactly the same. So then when I get to this point, I can decide if I want my cupcake to have the polka dots on the top and the plain bottom, or I could flip it around and do it like that also. So I think for this card, I will go ahead and flip it around just for the sake of being different. I'm going to go ahead and ink up these edges. The beauty of the pencil marks is, and if you ink, is that any stray pencil marks just basically disappear. You're not going to see them if you've done a light pencil mark. If you've done a real dark one, then you may see it. Now this hexagon, I did cut the whole thing out, but you really only need half of it because we're going to cover it up. So if you don't have to necessarily waste that whole piece of paper, or you could cut this in half and have two bases. Which one don't I just do that? Then I'll have enough to do another card. I'll set that aside. And again, I'm just going to do the outside edges because this top here is not going to show when I put the cupcake top on it. So we've got those pieces done. And now I just am going to grab a stack of scraps. So just raid your scrap bin if you have one. And we are going to use our punches to make our little cupcakes. Now the fun thing, you can do some other fun things with these cupcake punches, or at least the top. You can make some fun ice cream cones. So what I like to do is just punch a variety of colors that kind of coordinate with whatever paper I'm using. And then I can go through and kind of mix and match and decide what cupcakes I want on my card. So what combinations look good together. I'm going to punch two of this because this has multiple colors on it, though we probably won't use yellow against the yellow background on this one. All right, I think there was another. This one is double-sided as well, so we'll punch another one. So I'm punching probably more than I actually need, but I I can show you some other things that we can do with this. So now we're going to punch out the tops. I'll punch 2 of this one since it is double-sided paper. And since it's got color on both sides. That was another Echo Park. If you get any of their solids colors, they're basically 2 different coordinating colors on either side of the paper that go with that paper line. And often go with other of their papers. All right, so now we've got quite a few options to work with. And these are the cutest little cupcake punches. So I'm just going to put out kind of all my different ones here. Put these out of the way. And then I can look at the tops and decide excuse me, where or what colors I want the tops on. You know, what icing goes with what color. That might go there. And decide what you like. So, there's no right or wrong. You can just kind of pick which colors you like, which ones you think fit your theme or your card. And then on this card, just based on space, I have room for about 5. So I just need to pick 5 that I like to put together into the card. And I think I'm going to take this 1, 2, 3, 4, and what do I want for the last one? Those are the same color, so probably I'm not going to use that, though I could. It's dark. I don't have any red on there. Maybe we'll go with the red and blue. So push those aside for right now. And now we can start assembling our card. And when I put my cards together, I love using foam tape. And I usually just tell people I'm kind of addicted to it. So we're going to use some different levels of foam tape in order to get some layers on the card. And I like using from Scrapbook Adhesives, and we sell a lot of this, is the thin foam as well as the regular foam in order to get layers without having your card so thick that you can't nicely mail it. And without having to pay extra postage, because who wants to pay extra postage, especially when it just seems to keep increasing, right? So we want to keep it thin enough to actually mail. So what I like for these borders like this is they have these new thin strips of foam tape. And all you have to do is pull off the strip. There's no, you don't have to cut down all of the other pieces like I do all the time. But these come in the regular thickness. They don't have it in, these are pretty new. So they don't have it in the thin foam yet, but hopefully they will at some point. So we're just going to pull the backs off of that and put our first piece down here. Make sure I'm at the bottom of my card and not the top of it. Unless you like to do upside down cards, or as I sometimes call them, left-handed cards, because I am left-handed and sometimes tend to do things backwards from everyone else. So move that over a little bit. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and put the other bigger pieces on and then put our smaller elements around it. So for this, I'm just going to use my thin foam squares and put these on here. And these are half the thickness of your typical 2mm height. They're only 1mm. And then layer that that right at the top of the card. We'll put our large cupcake on. Oh, no, we do have to still cut the cherry. I realized we forgot our cherry there. So I'm not going to put the tape all the way to the bottom because I'm going to overlap right here a little bit. So I want to leave some room to be able to overlap. And then you can off-center your cupcake. I'm going to kind of put mine so that where my top border is, there's space for the cupcake to kind of sit there rather than overlap. But you can put it wherever you wanted, wherever fits your piece. I'm going to use a piece of that because I already had it cut. And then add a few more squares. And we're going to use the small squares when we get to the little cupcakes. So we've put that on there. So now we are ready for our tiny little cupcakes. Our cute little guys that we punched. So I'm going to start this by turning all of my pieces over for my cupcake liners. And I'm going to add a thin square on the back of these so that we have, and we can use a regular size square on the back of the frosting in order for that to stick up a little bit higher. And then when I place these on, I like to start near the cupcake so that I can get the placement where I want them. And actually this one's not quite so off-centered, so, but I like to use odd numbers. So we'll just make this, decide how to, one side will just be a little squishier than the other. Ooh. No, I didn't want to use, I'm going to stick that aside. We're going to use the, we don't want to use a yellow liner next to the yellow paper because that would not show up well. All right, which also means we probably need to change out. I think we'll put, I'm going to change those around just a little bit because of the color combination, and I wasn't thinking about yellow against yellow when I arranged them. So now I'm going to grab my thicker squares and just put one of those on the back. That way these will just pop up a little bit over the liner, just like your icing does on your actual cupcake, where it would go over the edge, typically of the liner. It often goes over the edge. All right, we're going to switch these around just a bit so that our colors are a little more mixed up. That there. All right, so now we have the basic card completed other than our cherry. Now the cherry is really just kind of a smushed heart. So I'm taking the scrap of red and I'm really just going to make kind of a circle-ish, smushed heart-ish shape. No template or anything tracing for this. It really doesn't have to be perfect because cherries kind of always look a little wonky, and that's all I need to put that right on here. This I'm going to add just with a touch of glue, just so I'm not adding another layer of thickness. If you're handing it to someone, not having to mail it, you could always put that on with some foam tape. And then for our little stem, all I'm doing with that is taking a scrap of brown that I had and cutting a small strip, and I'm just going to glue that on with a little bit of glue here, and then a little bit of glue, another little dot of glue over here just to hold the two ends in place. Hold that down for a second. So at this point the card could be done, but if you want to add a little bit of extra to your card, you can actually grab your favorite pen. I'm grabbing a black pen, but you could take any color pen that coordinates if you want. And you could add some stitching. So if you see here, just adds an extra little pop to your card when you add that stitching. So I'll show you like on the cherry in particular. If you go around the cherry, now if you know you're going to stitch, you could do this all ahead of time. But I usually forget, and I do it after it's all together. But on here, you can make that little dimple in your cherry by just putting a little kind of smiley face underneath the bottom of your stem of your cherry. And then you can just go around. This is just freehand and doing little dashes. So just think of it as if you were hand stitching something with a needle and thread. Most of the time the stitchers, unless you're an amazing seamstress, my stitches would never be perfectly even. So I just try and keep near my edge and turn my card as I'm working on it so that I kind of get the same look to my line. And if I run into something, I go around it. So I don't worry about going under and over or under things that are already there. So like this cupcake, I didn't worry about going under. But you can see how adding a bit of stitching just gives a little extra pop to your card. And you can add as little as or as much as you want. You may just highlight one thing, or you could, like in here, I did it around all of the elements just after I'd attached them to the card. I didn't sit and do it ahead of time. And then just pop that up, and it just gives you that extra little pop of color, and not exactly color, but it just looks a little more finished. So, but it's up to you. Some people like stitching, some people don't. So I want to show you a couple of other ideas that you can do with these little punches, these little cupcakes. You could easily, as you see how we have it along here, if I added just a couple of more, you could add a complete row of them on a card. So not even using, you know, the bigger cupcake, but you could add and make a border on a card with just a few punches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. You might be able to fit 8 too, but I tend to go with odd numbers. So that could make a fun border on a card, or on the inside of a card when you open it up, if you like to decorate the inside and just have something fun here. That would be a nice, fun embellishment. And then you could stamp your message if it's for a birthday. It could be any kind of celebration, because we can have cupcakes for all kinds of things. Another way to use them is to make an ice cream cone. So all you have to do is, with a scrap of whatever color you want your cone to be, I picked brown, make a little triangle, nothing fancy. I just hand trimmed it out. And then you can add as many layers of ice cream as you want. So you could easily even add these to the edge of a card and make a fun border with all kinds of scoops of ice cream just layering up the side. So that could be another fun way to do it. And then I also thought that a lot of the little characters, card size characters that different companies have, This one happens to be Lawn Fawn because I had that handy. You could easily make a little ice cream cone that they are holding just with cutting, again, a scrap of paper for your cone, and even just one. And you could give him a really tall ice cream cone too, depending on what your message is. So just some fun ideas that you can do with these punches. So we will have them in the sale, and you can check those out when they post and get all of the information on that. If you are looking for any of the foam tape and you can't find it from your local store, feel free to contact us. We can always add it in with an order, or put it, just pop it in the mail to you, whatever works. And if you do not have someone for Kiwi Lane templates and you're interested in them, you can get the link to that on our website as well. Otherwise, check with your local retailer and see if she is carrying them or can get them for you. So thanks for watching, and I will see you again later this week with some other demos. Have a great day.